1, 2, 3, 4.
My darlings, welcome to another video by Vegan and Frodo. I know I have been absent for quite a few days now. It's been a crazy nonsense over here in Russia. As you can see, I'm very much in Russia, in Siberia in fact, middle of winter. Have a look. I'm actually like in, how would you call it? I can say it's like a village, but it's like, yeah, it's a suburb outside of the city. That's my cousin, my sister lives here. It's pretty cold. It's very much a winter. It's Siberia now, and in more central places like St. Petersburg and Moscow, it's very, very warm at the moment. Like not very, very warm, but it hasn't snowed there yet. Right now it's sort of closer to end of November. I'm out on a walk. I find the snow and everything very fascinating. I'm in a very warm jacket thing. So basically I'll tell you a quick little thing about what has been happening over here. So I flew here. I went from Australia to Bangkok, like Thailand, and then from Thailand I flew straight into Russia to a city in Siberia, and from that city you have to also get like either the train, the bus or taxi to the city where my grandparents live. It's about 5 hours, about 500 k's driving. And there's a lot of places in the world where all of this is considered normal. Like this sort of, I don't know, it's very exotic to me. Well, right now it's normal, but at the same time it's like, this is the type of stuff I grow up every single year with. So basically on the flight over here, the Russian flight company, they have lost my luggage. So for the first 5 days, I just had my little clothes that I was wearing in the airport, like to the plane. And I had a warm jacket, I had a hat, and I had longer pants, like leggings, and some shoes. Right now, by the way, it's maybe 0 to -1. So this is considered very warm for Siberia. Because usually it gets to -40, minus like 40 something, -30 is kind of standard temperature. But this is pretty good. This temperature is nice because it's snowy and it's very beautiful. But then it's still, you feel like it's winter and you can still go for walks because it's warm enough. You don't have to wear too much clothes. So basically my luggage got lost, and it was without luggage. It was fairly stressful. For the first few days I had to find some clothes. I borrowed some from the relatives. I spent a day in that other city, maybe in hopes that I would get my luggage faster, but it didn't happen. But now I got it, thank God. And I actually have heard a lot of now that this has happened to me. I've heard so many people who have shared their story that they had their luggage lost and how they returned. But basically what happened is, well, they don't know why they lost it, but they basically lost it. It went somewhere else. I didn't have it. They didn't know where it was. And I had to leave the airport and I had to fly without it and stuff. And then it got sent to Moscow as like a central region for Russia, like a central airport. And because it's cheaper for them to fly things out of Moscow than fly it 500 k's away from the destination. But it was flown into Moscow and it was sent to the airport in the city, Novokuznetsk, where I'm at now. So I got it and I was incredibly happy that I got it back, and not everybody gets it, you know. But a lot of people have in the past. This is like the first time this has happened to me. One time it has happened to me when I was flying to Australia. One time, but I got it straight away. They knew where it was. They just like didn't have time to put it on the flight. And obviously I just got home, so I had all my clothes and all the things at home, so it wasn't an issue. And then it arrived the very next morning and I went to pick it up. So this has been like a new experience to me as well, but luckily it went fine and I got it back now. It's interesting to me because I feel like I can tell you so much about Russia because, right, I'm from here. I lived here most of my life. Like for 15 years of my life I've lived here. I've lived here more than I've lived in any other country, but I just genuinely don't know what sort of questions you have about Russia. So if you do have questions about Russia, please ask me your questions and what you're thinking, because this will help me to answer them. But I'll try and go over like the standard little things that can come to my mind. So the standard things, so the currency here is rubles, and 1 ruble right now compared to Australian dollar is about 60 something. 1 US dollar is 60 Australian, or like 55 Australian dollars. 1 ruble. 1 ruble in US dollars is about 70 at the moment, and similarly with euro, about like 50, 60. So the currency here is, well, I want to say it's cheaper. For me personally, it's cheaper here than in other countries, and well, rather the prices, I find them reasonable to pay for things like for clothes, although some are still, if you convert them on our money. I bought a coat here, like autumn coat here, and that was like 160 our dollars, and that's freaking expensive for locals here. Salaries vary because this is like regional. The salaries vary from 20 to 30,000 rubles, and like a really, really good salary is like 50,000 rubles that you can sort of get in your, late 20s, maybe mid 30s. And if you're like cut out director, like a director or like CEO or whatever, you can also earn up to like 100, 150, maybe 200 would be really like getting up there. And converted, that 1,000 rubles is $20 at the moment, Australian. So like 10 would be, 200, and 100 it'll be 2,000. So 2,000. So yeah, it'd be $500 a week to earn would considered like an incredibly top-notch job. Not many people. I mean, there are people who earn this sort of money here, but it's very, very rare. But the fact is, when you convert the prices of living here, like certain things like bread and buckwheat is like my most favorite food. Like things like that, I fairly like. There is a season for persimmons. I don't know if you know what they are, but they're like my most favorite childhood like fruit thing in the world, and they're so in season right now over here. It's incredible. Like they're not obviously in season here. It doesn't. They don't grow here. They get shipped into here from regions, like from kind of in the area, sort of, but that are closer to the equator, so it's warmer so it's like from the south. That's what we say, from the south. So in terms of that, it's very, very pricey, right? So like the coat that I got, just as an example, right? Like not everyone buys a coat, but it initially cost 12,000 rubles. And for some, kind of average earning salary person, that would be, for some people who are not in a very good job, that would literally be their monthly salary without paying for anything else at all. For others, like medium sort of earning people, that would be half of their salary, which I think is ridiculous, right? It's $160. To me, it's not the cheapest clothing item, like, no, but I feel like I'll be wearing that heaps, right? But for someone here, it's 160 because I got like a big discount on it. So initially it would have been like about maybe $250, $300. That is very pricey for me even, but I earn definitely more than $600 a month. Like absolutely, like, because that's just like you can't even survive in Australia on that sort of money. But this is what they live on here. And I'm gonna let that car go through. In terms of accommodation, again, you can get all kinds of accommodation here, but it's generally costs from around 10, 15, maybe 20,000 rubles per month as well for like rent of apartments. And for a few million rubles, you can buy yourself like a small little apartment if you wanted to live in something like that. So I'm definitely grateful for the fact that we've moved and we're living where we are living. I'm very appreciative of the life that I have been able to have, but also miss a lot of like some of the cultural stuff, some of the things that I had growing up. Like my cousin also had a baby, so it's kind of sad to feel that you're missing out on this little kid's life, and it's like a relative. In terms of overseas trips, it's very, very rare that people are able to afford that type of thing, because for overseas trips, the prices are the same prices that you and I would pay to go somewhere like Thailand or Vietnam or US. In terms of St. Petersburg and Moscow, other cities, right, they're really, really bigger cities in the country where you would be able to earn much, much more. There are people who earn more in those regions, but the cost of living goes up as well. There are a lot of things that are, discounted here, like, government supports you and funds you with your children. Like, they try and pay you for having like an extra child. They're encouraging population growth, so you get like a few 100,000 for having a child, basically for having like another child in your family, like 3 children, like for the third child. If a family has a third child, or a woman does, then you get like a chunk of money from the government. Let's just have a look what it's like. So growing up, I lived in an apartment. My cousin right now lives outside of the city. It's much cleaner here. The air is beautiful. I think the nature is beautiful. Do you see like all that forest out there? I'll get out of the thing so you see it better. That's freaking spectacular. To see that is absolutely beautiful. That is so pretty. But again, like they do have a school here in kindergarten, like kind of preschool type place. So yeah, kids don't go, well, obviously some kids do have nannies, but it's very, very rare. You gotta pay them more. So usually kids go to kindergarten, which basically takes them up to 6-7 years old, and then you go to school. You start school when you're 6 or 7, and you're there until you're 17, basically 17, 18, depending on the age where you first went to school. It's very beautiful. I do love the snow, like it's very memorable. It brings back memories from my childhood. I'm glad that I came for a visit. It's spectacular here. Very different. I find these little houses very romantic, because like that smoke. I know you see the smoke. That's people, basically, there's electricity, right? You can see over there the cables and that, right? But a lot of people, to warm up their houses, they have what do you call chimneys, and they basically put the wood, like, they break up the wood, and they have a little bit of coal, but usually it's the wood and maybe a couple of handfuls of coal they chuck in the oven, like, what do you call it? The fireplace, that's the right word. So they chuck it into the fireplace, and that's how they keep warm. My grandparents had a little village type country house like this when I was growing up, so we definitely used that. It wasn't really livable in winter, but it was livable in summer, spring, autumn, and we used to just go and plant all the different things, potatoes and pumpkins and cucumbers and cabbage and tomatoes and everything. And that's what we lived with through when I was growing up. And it was quite beautiful. But yeah, so we had the chimneys, and those chimneys would heat up the place. We had a little bit of electricity there, but I also remember the time where before electricity, there was no electricity. There'd be just a little lamp with not oil, kerosene. Do you know kerosene? Like, am I saying it right? With kerosene. So you like roll up the little wheel and light it up, and you walk around with like this little hand lamp, and that would be a source of light for the night. And you'd have like the little sauna called banya, but it's not like crazy obscene one. They'd be like just quite simple, quite unique. And that's how you'd have a shower, and you'd warm up the water, because there's no electricity to warm up the water. You would warm it up with that oven, with the fireplace, basically. With the fireplace, you chuck, that'd be like a place for there's like a type of machine, like sort of like boilers almost. There'll be like a little compartment with water in it, and there'll be a compartment for the fire where you chug bits of wood, a little bit of coal, and you light it up, and then it would like burn, heat up the water, then you use that water, mix it up with the cold, and that's how you'd have a shower here. Now obviously these places, they're very different to what I grew up with. These are a lot more developed, you can say. And there's a lot more things available now as well, back to 20 years ago when I was growing up and living in a place like that. Вас нет? А нужно? Почему? Вас снять? Хорошо, могу вас снять?
А вы что говорите?
Просто о жизни.
А мне тоже снимайте для меня.
Вас снять? Ну хорошо.
I'm a cherry, 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 red kid.